So I'm here at Stamford Bridge on the 950th anniversary of the battle. As you can see behind me, we're on some sort of a high plateau of land, and down here is the housing estate that goes down to the town, the modern town now. We think that's where the bridge was that the army of Harold Godwinson came across. To pick up from Harald Hardrada's story, he was, after the Battle of Fulford, he had moved his men here, where I think Earl Tostig had a manor house, and he was here waiting for the hostages from the Northumbrian earls and the Mercians, awaiting hostages. And on the day they were supposed to come, instead of that, they see dust on the road to York, which is over there, over the housing estate. And the sagas say that there was a glitter of ice. It looked like the glitter of ice, and it was the sunlight on the swords and helmets and spears of the English. Harold Godwinson had done an incredible forced march north and completely surprised Harald Hardrada here. A third of his men were down in the ships at Rickle. They'd left their arms and shields behind, and it's said that the last thing they expected to see was the English coming here. There are stories after the event of a lone Viking holding the bridge, which gave Hardrada and his men, who hadn't got their arms and armour with them, it was a hot sunny day, they were sunbathing by the side of the river, and the English came, pressed them back, and they came up probably to this highlands here. It's very hard to see, and it's very hard to imagine now with a kind of housing estate here. But I'm on the spot where tradition has it that Harald Hardrada, his men formed up around him. There was a long battle. The English were on horses, according to the sagas, and they hemmed the Norse in. And Harold sent runners down to summon his men from Rickle, a third of his army. But they were going to arrive too late, unfortunately for Harold. And sensing kind of defeat, he did what he'd always done, which was lead a charge, holding an axe two-handed and leading a charge out of his men. And the sagas say he ran ahead of his men and cleft through the English, and nothing could stop him. But he was struck by an arrow in the throat, and supposedly it's here on this spot that he dies. And so comes to an end the life of one of the most extraordinary men, I think, who almost ruled England. He would have been our kind of great adventurer king, but, you know, far more interesting and far more kind of successful than Richard Lionheart, who's always been kind of touted as a great king. But not only the end of Harald Hardrada, but also the end of the Viking Age. Because really, with his great expedition, the Vikings never again really play a kind of major part in European politics. And I feel that almost the extent of his kind of power and control, almost the popping of that bubble, kind of deflated the Scandinavian drive. Anyway, he'd arrived in England a week or so before with 300 ships worth of men, and after the battle is finished here, and it's a bloody battle that lasts all day, which is very strange for medieval battles of this period, only 24 ships crews who can take men back, and so a massive slaughter. Again, you know, unfortunately the kind of battlefield is obscured, but with Harold's death, not only comes his end of his life, but also the end of the Viking Age. And here we are on the 950th anniversary of where it happened, and it's very, very exciting to be here.